Welcome to Cafeína Catracha podcast, produced by IWCA Honduras. We delve into a wide range of coffee-related topics, from the cultural significance of this beloved beverage to the intricacies of coffee farming, processing, policies, and market trends. Also feature exciting segments on coffee-related news and events. We believe that coffee is more than just a drink. It's a culture. So whether you're a coffee lover, a coffee producer, a professional in the industry, Cafeína Catracha podcast is for you. Tune into our podcast and let us take you into a journey to explore the fascinating world of coffee like never before.
Welcome back to Cafeína Catracha podcast, the podcast that loves to explore the coffee industry and their rich culture. We are going to be your host. My name is Orieta Alvarenga.
And I am Karla Calidonio. With mixed emotions, we have reached the last episode of the second season, but with an extremely satisfying topic.
You're right. And we are really passionate about all episodes, especially this one, because we have learned a lot during this whole season. We continue learning about coffee industry, its history, the cultural significance, and the coffee production with that rich market.
And we have such an interesting interviews in this episode.
Yeah, right. So sit down, grab your cup of coffee, and enjoy this episode. Today's episode, we are diving into the journey of a World Barista Champions. We talk to remarkable baristas around the whole world and how a barista company for low-income communities can change lives, and how a barista is now in charge of a company internationally. We have with us Carlos Remeguerra from Café San Rafael, Honduras, Andrea Allen from Onyx Coffee,
and also Nicole Battlefield, Ryan Leroux, and Catherine Nolt.
As we prepare to kick off this episode, we'd like to extend a special thanks to our sponsors. Cafeína Catracha podcast is brought to you by IWCA Honduras and is sponsored by Café Inclusivo Swiss Contact, in partnership with Let's Talk Coffee, Sustainable Harvest, PRF San Salvador, Mallorca Coffee, and eCafé.
Hello, Kayla.
Hello, Carlos. Nice to be here with you in the PRF 2023 in
It
El
is
Salvador.
an absolute pleasure to be here with you.
Oh, thank you very much. Well,
My name is Carlos. I am Honduras National Barista Champion 2020, and I own a business in Copan Ruinas that's called Café San Rafael. We are a roastery. We're a family operation, and we have been in business since 1919. So that's a little bit over 20 years in experience roasting coffee.
okay, so can you tell us how you started in the coffee industry?
Sure. Well, I was really born in the coffee industry right from the beginning. When we were off of school, my dad will always take us to the coffee farm, and he will always teach us the trade. So that stayed with us, and I went to study food science in Zamorano in Honduras. And then after that, I started in cheese making. But then I came back to Honduras where I really embraced the coffee business. And that was really 12 years ago that I started working together with my mom in the coffee shop. And we did that transition from conventional coffee to specialty coffee. So it's really been 12 years intensely in coffee business.
Okay, how do you go from the beginning of an entrepreneur to having a great business in Café San Rafael?
You know, it's very funny that at the beginning, when we started doing things a little bit different, the word entrepreneurship was not around. Nobody knew this word. People will call us weirds, or why are they doing so many changes? But then, you know, that was very grateful for us. That really worked for us business-wise. And it's been really great for us and for the community in general And now we see other people that are being inspired by, the coffee shop culture, and they're opening up more coffee shops. And for us, it adds to the destination where we live. And at least we are very happy that people will recognize us as a coffee town. So that is our purpose now.
Okay. Can you share with your experience as a barista?
Being a barista is it's extremely satisfying profession. You can serve people's coffee every day, and the only thing you want back is that one nice smile when they are sipping the cup of coffee, and that really makes your life nice. And it's hard work. It's a hospitality business, so you have to be standing up the whole time. Not only you have to make coffee, but you also have to do maintenance to the machines, be aware of many other things, and be always aware of customer satisfaction. But for me, it's a great profession. I love it. I don't want to change it. I just want to learn more.
Okay, and what you can tell us, women encouraging in the barista?
Well, in our case, for example, we are very 50-50, 50% women, 50% men. And we have always been known that women are statistically more talented than men when it comes to making drinks. So we like the role our girls play in Café San Rafael.
Okay, well, it's a pleasure being again here with you and collaborating with the podcast of Cafeína Catracha.
Thank you. It's my pleasure too.
Welcome.
We are here in Copan Rinas in the set of Let's Talk Coffee 2023. And we've been talking with many people that are leaders in the coffee sector. And I'm very pleased to present you to Andrea. And we will talk about many things, two things in special. One is this model that everybody's talking about. And then we will talk about something that the young people also is willing to do, is to have a career as a barista. So Andrea, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here. I'm Andrea Allen. I'm one of the co-founders of Onyx Coffee Lab, and I'm the 2020 US Barista Champion and the 2021 runner-up World Barista Champion. And thanks so much for having me. It's been really fun.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And let's talk a little bit about the Onyx model.
Yeah.
How do you come from this coffee shop that you told me about to the Onyx coffee shop that everybody's talking about?
Thank you. Well, I started as a barista 21 years ago, actually, just working part-time. I love coffee and I love serving people and making things with my hands. And I basically just fell in love with coffee through that and started managing a cafe. And then my husband and I were able to buy the cafe that I was managing in 2009. And basically we were just running the cafe and learning all about how to make coffee and how to do hospitality. But we really didn't know much about coffee at all, really. And so in 2010, my husband bought a roasting machine and started roasting. And he really started learning about all of the things about the supply chain and all of the incredible potential that green coffee has. And he actually took his first trip to Honduras in 2013. It was his first time ever coming to a coffee farm. And he just fell in love with producers and just learning about coffee. And so I guess it was in 2012 that we just decided that we needed to do something new, that we were really excited about all of the potential of roasting coffee and sourcing. And so we decided to rebrand our company as Onyx Coffee Lab in 2012. And really our goal was to serve roast. We'll start over. Yeah, there we go. Our goal was to source, roast, and brew the world's greatest coffees, which at the time felt like kind of a silly thing to say. We're located in Arkansas, which is not exactly the cultural mecca of the U.S. or of coffee. So when we started saying that, it felt really funny, but we were really serious about that. And so we just really pursued excellence. So we worked really hard to bring in really great green coffees, and then worked really hard to learn how to roast them. And then on the cafe side, just really embraced hospitality and working to meet our customers where they were in their coffee journey to try to help them connect all the way back down the supply chain to the producer at the beginning. And so it's a lot of steps involved. But now we have 4 cafes, and we have a roasting operation, and we sell coffee to wholesale partners all across the world. We have 800 wholesale accounts. Wow. Yes, and it's a lot. And then we also have an e-commerce program where we sell coffee to people at home. And so it's been a really amazing journey.
And you have coffees from all over the world.
Yes.
You do the sourcing of coffee. And how do you decide what is your motivation to buy coffee from one country or the other? What are you looking for in coffee?
So the first thing that we look for is quality. So when we say quality, we do score coffees and buy based a little bit on scoring. So we only buy things that are 86 and above score. Also, we're just looking for coffees that are clean, sweet, and are very interesting. And so that's kind of our primary, thing we're looking for. Yeah. But then beyond that, we are also looking to work with producers that we're able to work very closely with. So we tried to visit 70% of the farms that we buy from and contract things directly with the producers. Our goal is to have as few people in the middle as possible. In our opinion, the producers are the ones that often are receiving the least amount of money in the supply chain. So we try to get rid of anything in between and pay money directly to producers. So that's one of our big goals. But yeah, those are the 2 things. So it does look like we do buy coffees from all over the world, but we would buy coffee from anywhere as long as it met those criteria.
And about your barista career.
Yeah.
We have many girls that they look at the championships, for example. Yeah. But I know that there is a lot of work to put, hours that you spend preparing the presentation and so on. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience and your journey?
Yeah. So I started competing in 2013. My husband, John, had seen the barista competitions on live stream. Mm-hmm. And he was encouraging me to do it. And I really felt like I didn't want to do it because at the time I felt like I know what I'm doing. I know I'm a good barista. I don't need to prove anything to anyone. And he said, well, that's great, but also our company is not doing very well. And we need to have a way to show the coffee industry that we know what we're doing. And especially just being from a small place, we were trying to sell coffee to other coffee shops, and we just really couldn't get anyone to even try our coffees. And so the thought process was, hey, if we can go to a competition and do well, then maybe when we call people and say, would you like to try our coffees, that they would be interested. And so I went to my first barista competition in 2013, and I did really bad. I placed next to last. And it was really just because I didn't know enough to do well. I had read the rules, but I didn't actually understand the practical application of the rules. And I did not understand how to score points. So my presentation was okay, and my coffee was great, of course, but I really didn't understand how to play the game. I did not understand how to win. And so I came home from that, and I felt pretty discouraged. I felt like, why did I do that? That was silly. I know.
How much pain?
Yeah, I know I'm good. I know I'm pretty good at what I do, and, but I am very competitive. So really a few weeks went by, and then I just started thinking about it, and I was like, I could win. I could just win this if I knew how to do it and I try hard enough. Like, I could win this. And so I started going back every year, and the next year I did make it to nationals, and I learned a lot then. And then the next year was 2016, which is when I went and I won second for the first time. And so, you know, it's there's a lot involved in it. So you have to really know the rules. You have to know how to break the rules. I always say that in between the lines of the rules is where innovation happens. And so, you know, I really started to think about how I could push in the industry and how I could bring something different to the table. One of the things that is so fascinating about barista competition is that it is a really small part of the industry, but it is often where new trends, innovation, new coffees, new coffee processing becomes visible. So things like the EK43 grinder, Cascara, things like geishas, all of those have sort of found notoriety and have found their like moment for innovation on the world coffee stage. And so as I started to approach these competitions, I started to think about what would I like to see in the industry be better? Where could we be better? Where could I be better? And so I started to bring those ideas to the competition stage. And it really, I found that at least in the beginning part of my career, that everyone was really focused on science and flavors and processing. And I think all of those things are very, very important. But for me, I was always just thinking about how can we improve the lives of people in the supply chain? How can we improve the lives of baristas that are making coffee? And what is our responsibility as coffee professionals in that space? And so throughout my career, I placed second 3 times. And I'm very actually proud of making the finals at the U.S. Barista Competition and placing 5th when I was 8 months pregnant with my second daughter. And then I'm also very proud of going to the World Barista Competition and competing there and placing second. So it's a lot of work, but I felt like it has been worth it.
And you also break that barrier when you compete being pregnant.
Yeah.
You know, saying that being pregnant is not, you know, something that can hold you back.
Yes. Yeah.
It's hard. But it also shows, you know, that women, are capable of doing many, many, many things, you know, along that way. And what was your key message when you placed second in the World Barista Championship?
So when I won, we'll have to back up to when I won the U.S. Barista Championship in 2020. So that competition was on February 23rd. Of 2020, which was right before everything just went crazy. And so my original plan was to take that same presentation and take it to the world stage. And so the competition was originally supposed to happen in June of 2020, and it got delayed to June of 2021. And then the June 2021 was canceled. And so I had just heard the rumor that it was going to happen in Milan in October of 2021, but I did not believe that because things were still so wild with COVID, and I just didn't actually think it was going to happen. So in July of 2021, I got an email in the middle of the night saying that it was going to happen in October of 21. And so I usually prepare for at least 6 months before a U.S. competition. So this was only 3 months before the big world competition. And I was not preparing. I, like most of us, was doing everything I could to make our company not sink during COVID. Even in 2021, I mean, things were still really, really hard. And so I had not been preparing for all of that time. And so I went back and took a look at my presentation from 2020, and I just thought, we're not living in the same world that we were living in then. And so I decided to completely change my presentation, and I went there with the goal of talking about service and hospitality, and I focused on kindness, flavor of coffee, and then actual touch between humans as kind of a way to think about what hospitality means in the industry and how important it is now, as we've gone through COVID, how important it is to embrace hospitality as the medium with which to work to like revive and restore relationships, restore industry, and restore the role of the barista in the coffee supply chain.
And at the end, as you say before, that connection between the buyers and the producers, which was changed a lot during COVID.
Yes.
As you say, it was a completely new world out there. And well, we're an alliance of women. So we try to present to these ladies along the coffee chain, what it means to be leaders in our sector. So I will ask you to tell them, to talk to them about, maybe the role that you have played in, for example, in Arkansas, where you say that it's not like a coffee hub in the U.S.
Yes.
But your advice in how to pursue, for example, a dream, or how did you were able to compete and to go on and then, for example, make it to the finals?
Yes. Yeah. So I think my first advice is just to work hard. So I think as a woman, we often have to prove ourselves much more than a man might need to. And so working really hard is super important. I think also just pursuing excellence is incredibly important. So I think women bring a different point of view than anyone else. I think that women are much more intuitive about all sorts of things in business than a man might be. And so I like to encourage to pursue excellence, but pursue it from your point of view. I think you don't need to play the same kind of games that a man might play in the business world. I think we can have our own points of view. We can have our own ideas and opinions, and that those actually are the things that help set us apart. And then I think just don't be discouraged by not achieving what you want to. For me, in my barista career, I felt very frustrated when I kept not winning the U.S. barista competition. The first time I placed second, I was thrilled. And then as I kept not winning, I felt very frustrated by that. I felt like I should have won. Maybe I could have won if I had just worked a little harder, or if I had just done, whatever it was. But now that I'm on the other side of that and I'm a little older, maybe I'm a little wiser, I just see that I wouldn't be the coffee professional I am today had I not had to work through all of those seasons of competition. If I had won the first time, I would have quit, and I would not have had some of the experiences I've had. I have experienced hardship and heartbreak throughout that season. When I was preparing for the world competition, I was working really hard at work, and then I was practicing at night, and I sacrificed a lot during that time with my family, and I do believe it was worth it. But I also wouldn't have had those formative experiences for my own personal self and for my family had I not, or had I achieved my goal earlier. I would never have had those experiences. And so I'm really grateful for having to work really hard to achieve those things. And I think that for me now, the achievement is not winning, like just actually winning. The achievement is all of that I learned and all of the people I got to meet throughout those years. And that really is what has become very important to me.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
For these wonderful stories. I know that people that will watch this, will be thrilled to understand that hard work And of course, for the Cafeína Catracha podcast, it's a pleasure to have you here. And I'm sure, that this will break some thoughts, of I cannot make it, I cannot do whatever. You are the example that can be done. So for you, thank you very much for following us, and we'll see you around.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Good morning, Nicole. It's a pleasure to be here with you today at PRF San Salvador 2023. I mean, I had been reading your biography, and it's really, really amazing. Can you talk? I mean, it's so grateful to be here. You as a woman in this coffee industry, powered by men. So let's talk about yourself and in the industry.
Yeah. So thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
I'm Nicole. I am a 4-time German national champion in barista, coffee with spirits, and 2 times brewing. And I placed in the World Finals in 2019 in Berlin. And yes, I've been working as a barista since many, many years now. I think I started in specialty coffee in 2014. And for me, championships were the way to show in this really male-dominated industry that we can also do this.
Absolutely.
To show that we are qualified and able to, kick ass. And over the years, it's become better. Like, I see how the industry changes. I see that I'm in nationals, not the only woman who's competing anymore. There's many, many now. And I mean, the more women compete, the more you realize that the champions are female. So even if we're still a little bit in the minority, we usually do a great job, sometimes even better than the men. So yes, I think it is really important to spread the word, to encourage more women to work as a barista and to really push themselves, because we are so capable and we can really, really push this industry forward.
And talk about your podcast.
Yes, so I do have a podcast. It's called She's the Barista, where I interview a lot of female barista champions and competitors and people in the coffee industry, but also men, because I think it's really important to, as a feminist, to not be exclusive. Feminism means to work together for equal rights. And I think it's really, really important to address that to everyone and to invite the others all to the table together.
Yep.
And there are a lot of men that I know that are amazing ambassadors for women in coffee, that are helping us, that are allies. And it's really, really great to see to also hear their stories and how they've struggled, because most of the people in my podcast tell me about it's been a rocky road or where they're coming from, and it really inspires other people to be like, oh, so I'm a lawyer now, but I'm really stuck and I don't like it. But there was this person on this podcast who had the same thing, and they just found their passion, because coffee is such a passionate job.
Yeah, absolutely.
That, we are in the industry of friends in the end, which is amazing.
Easy.
And I have a great tool of communicating this with this podcast.
Oh, thank you. We are really, happy to have you here. And as a woman, what do you think that are the most skills you have been through this enormous world of coffee fashion?
Like the difficulties?
Yeah.
So it's a little bit hard to tell. I have worked in Michelin as a chef before I worked in coffee. In a Michelin star restaurant, and that's very tough as a woman. It's very, very hard. And coming into the coffee industry, I always felt like I need to prove that I'm as good as the guys, because there were situations where people said you cannot work at the coffee machine, you have to work at the register. And I see this happening all the time still, where the girls have to do the register and they have to do the service, and the guys stay on the coffee machine. And I really had to own my place there and to educate myself a lot, because I never had a trainer or a teacher. So that was rough. And then working with coffee machines especially was also very tough, because the Italian companies don't really like to hire women. They only like to hire women as secretaries. So it was a lot of finding the right people that want to push me and that want to support me, and to surround myself with the people that I want to be surrounded in. And it takes a lot of
courage. It takes a lot of, you need to be proud of yourself, and you need to know where you stand and that you are worth it. It takes that you go to a conversation, be like, no. Like, I'm not taking yes. I'm not just doing service. I'm the barista. Excuse me? Yes. I am confident enough to demand my place in this industry. And it was a long and rocky road for me to learn this. But I can only encourage other people, if they're male, female, or identify as anything else, to own their skills and to demand to be put in the right place.
Okay, and about the social media, what advice you can give up for young women, farmers, barista, or in the industry? No.
So that's really difficult because my social media just kind of like happened over the years. And I think it is very, very important to stay true to yourself and to not be someone on social media and another person in real life. To represent what you're standing for and your values. Just not to be fake is really important. And to have a well-structured feed, obviously, that is aesthetically pleasing. I've seen a lot of producers that really take it, like they take professional photos of their farm, and it really does something to you, because as a business, your Instagram account or your social media presence is your business card. And you should treat it like this. You should make it nice and pleasant, pleasing, maybe with some tools that get directly to your products, or some tools that get directly to your website, where you have more information about your farm, where you have maybe even price lists or current offerings. I think this is really important to link all of those things, because a lot of people have like an Instagram account and it's very solo. And they're like, oh yes, we have Instagram, but you can't navigate it anywhere. And the PRF is a great example of how to utilize social media to make an event like this happen, because I can only recommend to anyone who has got questions for social media to contact Perfect Daily Grind or the PRF team, because they have amazing knowledge and they have great resources to help you.
Well, it was amazing having here with you this conversation. I mean, we are glad as a woman to have you here. I mean, we have to get encouraged, and that girl power always.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean,
it's amazing that you and your mom, your farm is thriving, and thank you for your work and what you're doing. It's amazing.
No, you're welcome. So thank you for being here at Cafeína Catracha Podcast Honduras. It's a pleasure to have you here. So thank you. Hello, Ryan. It's a pleasure to be here with you at PRF El Salvador 2023. So let's talk about you. Introduce yourself.
Thank you. It's very great to be here. My name is Ryan. I'm from South Africa, and we run a non-profit organization called World Barista Academy. We train unemployed youth in South Africa in how to be baristas and then help them find jobs.
Well, amazing. So let's talk about what you do and the importance of women working in the coffee industry, if you employ women, and all the impact that's effort of coffee women producers.
Sure. So it's really amazing to see how much of a difference coffee is making in South Africa when it comes to unemployment. The coffee industry has really gotten big in South Africa in the last 10 years, so there's lots of job opportunities. Our passion is to be able to try and enter someone into the economy so if they can make a living for themselves, be able to work. And being a barista is one of the coolest jobs you can have at an entry-level job. So we find many people wanting to be baristas. And interestingly, I would say 90% of our classes are females, or women that come through the course. Yeah, they seem to be the most interested in it and do very well in our classes.
Oh, thank you. And what else you can talk about being a barista for you and all the skills you have to be throughout the past in there?
So being a barista is such a good platform for someone. So we find that first they get excited about coffee, start learning how to drink coffee, obviously learn how to be a barista. But one of the amazing things which has happened from our courses is that people generally stay a barista for a year or two. But because they're working in a coffee shop and they're in front of people who are buying premium coffee, they're speaking to many CEOs or managers or people from companies, and get to showcase who they are, get to showcase their personalities. And many of these baristas have been picked up from the coffee shops and then offered positions as car salesmen or managers or various different other jobs. So we've become a platform where people can showcase themselves as well. And that's the amazing thing about coffee, you know?
Yeah,
it starts
absolutely.
conversations with people.
Yeah, and about being a woman leader in the coffee industry, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think there needs to be more empowerment and more people raised up, you know, and the more that women can be involved, the better, I think.
Yeah. Well, something else that you want to tell us about?
It's amazing being in this country too, and we've seen such similarities between what we're doing in Africa and Central and South America. And I think you guys share some of the common issues that we have as well in employment and trying to get people to be able to work. And I think once they are earning an income, they influence and can really help their communities. So
Absolutely. And another thing is what the kind of coffee you prefer in South Africa? I mean, there isn't a specific profile that you're looking for.
I'm going to let Sean answer the coffee questions. Okay, so let's hand over to Sean. I'll answer the questions of how we help people get jobs.
Okay, thank you.
How's it?
You are the top.
Yeah, no, I'm the talker,
Okay.
but more importantly, the head trainer, co-founders of the Barista Academy. And yeah, very excited to be we've done a lot. It's been crazy. I was in the roasting comp, I was in the Brewers Cup, I was on the brew bar twice, I was busy. And now I am tired.
And it's like,
The way I feel is the way you look.
so you can talk about coffee market in outside.
In South Africa?
Yep.
Yeah, you know, the coffee market is growing at a rapid rate. It's my 17th year in coffee, and yeah, it's going really, really well. The one thing I can say is you mentioned with Ryan, the growth of women within coffee is absolutely fantastic. We have the highest success rate with women. That's the one thing I wanted to add on is the men in coffee are good and they're passionate, but the women, they are the providers. It's interesting. They bring the comfort to the family. They're the providers. And I don't know if it's the same in a Central American culture, but in the African culture, it's almost like the women are actually the providers. They're the ones that are doing the hard work. But there's a different dynamic in South Africa between the black population, the white population, the youth. But yeah, our success with women in general is they're the ones that find the jobs. They're the ones that keep the jobs. They're the ones that work hard in order to provide for their family. So.
Oh yeah, I mean it's really, really tough work. I mean, woman, but it's nothing impossible to do. And about the coffee, what do you have in a specific profile about methods of the way, or what type of coffee you prefer to consume in South Africa?
So in South Africa, we use a combination of higher grade commercial coffees as well as entry-level specialty coffees. With the Red Band Academy, our coffee is, we use coffee from Uganda and coffee from Brazil that we mix together. And it's a perfect combination that gives you a flavor profile in South Africa, which is more common, like chocolate, caramel, and nuts. People do like more acidic coffees, but in the case of those higher grade specialty coffees that are far more complex, it's unaffordable, I think, in South Africa to a certain point. So there is I would say a small percentage, maybe 5%, that is that higher grade specialty coffees. But the more in ones that I brought with me, for example, was an 82 SEA Ugandan coffee, and I brought through a Donasto Cafe Brazil all woman washing station.
Wow.
Coffee as well, which I'm given all the coffee away now because we've just been offered so much coffee. But I roast omni roast, so for filter, for espresso, for pour overs. I think the South African palate likes the caramels, the toffees, the butterscotch.
That sweet flavors.
Yeah.
Okay, you can taste in the coffee.
Yeah, with subtle acidity coming through. You know, that's kind of the South African palate, you know, that the guys enjoy in general.
Oh, amazing. I mean, so happy and glad to have you, both of you here. And this podcast, Cafeína Catracha from Honduras, is really a pleasure. I mean, to learn about coffee and in other markets. I mean, the way you drink it, the way you do it, the work you do as a barista and your academy, and that's really, really amazing to know and to people know about you.
You know, the one thing I'd just like to say is that in our chat yesterday in the workshop, you know, I was saying to Ryan, for me, my journey in coffee has been a long time, and it was all about the coffee in the beginning, but it's become all about the people. And I was saying to a lot of the people, we're not here to share the coffee, we're here to share you. And get the experience and get to meet and experience the culture of the people. And the people here have been so positive, so embracing to us. We've been called British and American, which is quite interesting. Because I think our accents are weird, but we're very, very blessed to have been here. You guys are amazing. The El Salvador culture is amazing. The Panama culture is amazing. We headed to Guatemala tomorrow, and we're there for 2 days, and then we headed to Costa Rica, and then back to Panama, and then home.
Wow! And are you planning one day? I mean, go and visit Honduras? Try and taste Honduran coffee?
We would love to. We really have met some amazing people here. We are going to be hosted in Antigua with a guy. We're hoping to get to a coffee farm, but then Costa Rica, definitely. We've actually got a farmer here that's from Costa Rica, a producer, and he is invited to fetch us, host us. So we're very, very excited about that. But Punta Arenas in Costa Rica, is where we are going to be ending our trip on the beach. Piña coladas. Muy bien.
Well, thank you to your time and to talk about coffee. Is a really amazing world, and you can, I mean, it's all about experience, people you can meet through the coffee. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Mucho gusto.
Igualmente.
We are here in Copán Ruinas. This is the set for Let's Talk Coffee. And I'm very honored to tell you about the new Managing Director of Sustainable Harvest, Mrs. Kat Nolte. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much for having me. For me in my journey, I started as a barista in a cafe, and I come from Wisconsin, which is in middle America. So, you know, not one of the big fancy cities or anything like that. My dad built wooden church organ pipes, and my mom played the organ, and it was a big family of 5. And so growing up and, you know, in our cultural context, it was a very humble start. And I remember when I was 19 years old, I was studying philosophy and music, and I thought, you know, I don't know what I'm going to do with these things. So I became a barista, and that was my job opportunity. And I remember just falling in love with it. It was a humble job, but it was something I was passionate about. And so for me, that turned into an opportunity to become a shift supervisor, a cafe manager. At a certain point, I just started reading so much about coffee and the supply chain. And I went back to business school and earned my degree in accounting. And a lot of these things were, you know, just getting passionate about what I was doing in the moment and then creating the next opportunity out of that. After my accounting degree, and because of coffee and all the, you know, developing countries that are, you know, included in the coffee supply chain, I decided to join the Peace Corps. And so I moved to rural West Africa and lived in a village for 2 years with subsistence farmers. So really living amongst people who were growing food and they were doing sesame for a cash crop. Mm-hmm. And so I really wanted to get a different way of life that was completely different from my own. For me, this was eye-opening, and also, you know, somehow, you know, growing my own worldview to like include other perspectives into my own worldview. And it was an amazing experience. And I came back to the U.S. With those 2 years in rural Africa and then also an accounting degree. And I became a financial controller of a specialty coffee importer. And for me, I think that move was one of the, you know, big breaks in my career where it was like, I'm entering, you know, into a different, you know, sort of level here of professionalism.
And it was an amazing opportunity, a very supportive company. And, shortly after that, I saw a job description of, it was an NGO that was based in London and East Africa, and it was working with smallholder coffee cooperatives on business basics, on gender inclusion, on environmental climate change adaptation. And so it had a real sustainability USD. And I moved into that company to learn more about the supply chain and to continue growing with that passion for, working with smallholder supply chains and subsistence farmers. That was an amazing time in my career, and I learned so much. And coming out of that, I really wanted to get back into the private sector, just because I think with sustainability, the private sector has more power. And I think we're going to talk about commercialization of some of the sustainability initiatives or the inclusion initiatives that women's groups can have. And in that role, I spent 5 years, and I was mostly working on market access for these smallholder organizations who were doing projects and all sorts of different facets of the sustainability promise. And after that, I got back into the private sector, joining a company called Sukafina. And this was the next big breakthrough in my career, where Sukafina is a global coffee company. And so they operate all over the world. And then they also have world-class financial expertise, which is something that, I really wanted access to, that sort of mentorship. And it was something I didn't know, and I wanted to, dig in and learn more about and surround myself with smart people and good mentors with really good information. And I've been doing that for the last 6 years under the Sukafina umbrella. And it's been an amazing journey, just looking at and seeing how the entire supply chain operates, from commercial, just like the seconds and, stuff like that, or stock lots and things like that, all the way up to the most valuable microlots in the world. And so getting that broad perspective has been amazing. Having the, amazing mentorship on the financial side has been really great. And then when the Sustainable Harvest opportunity came along, we partnered because Sustainable Harvest was a wonderful business with incredible values, and
they match.
And they match to Sukafina's values spot on, because Sukafina is a company that values traceability, transparency, and sustainability, and is working in that space of trying to make coffee a real farm to roaster value proposition, and do that at scale. And so what Sustainable Harvest provides is actually a smaller subset of coffee, where we can really work on premiumization and making, premium products really sing. But we can also take what we learn as Sustainable Harvest and apply it on the Sukafina side. And then we can also take things on the Sukafina side, and in particular, the business and the financial expertise, and we can apply it on the Sustainable Harvest side. So the idea is true partnership.
And what we have learned from your experience, Kat, listening to your great journey in your life with starting as a barista, and from our audience, is that you can grow your way up. You can learn, the necessary skills in each job. So for us as an alliance of women, that we have not only producers, but we do have also baristas. We have also traders. We have exporters. What is important, I think, is to make sure that you learn and you become almost an expert in that job, no matter what it is. So you will be like the best barista, the best producer, the best exporter. And I think what you mentioned, along the way, is that you have also to take the opportunities in the right moment. So, Catherine, thank you so much for this interview. It's been really great. Congratulations to your new appointment. And since we are an alliance of women over the world, I think that you will also have a support from us, to be there for you.
So thank you to your support.
Thank you.
So thank you for it.
Thank you for the interview.
Thanks to our guests for sharing their amazing insights with our audience. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platforms. Also, stay connected with us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube by following Cafeína Catracha HN. We love to hear from you. For more information about IWCA Honduras, kindly visit mujeresencafehn.org.
It has been a fantastic journey. During this entire season, we have met extraordinary people, consumers, roasters, scholars, baristas, and especially and most importantly, producers and buyers, discovering the fascinating complexities of the coffee world.
We want to thank all our guests for sharing their expertise, and a special thank you for all of our audience by supporting us on each episode. Remember, please subscribe on our podcast. And if you want to know more about IWCA Honduras, you can visit our website, mujeresencafehn.org. Goodbye for now.
Cafeína Catracha podcast is an original idea and executive production created by Suyapa Franco and Marta Campos Mays.